Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the shell. We've been using this since about 2015. I know a lot of classes are using it online, as well as some traditional courses are also using it as well. If you notice, it has a very similar look. All of our classes have this look to it. And they're not all identical, but they are similar. And the reason why we do this is to make it easy for students as they go from one course to the next. They're not trying to learn how to navigate through a course. They're there for the content, so they already have learned how to navigate it from other classes. So that's something that we don't want them to have to worry about. We just want them to focus on the resources. Also, the template is editable. If you notice right here along this left navigation, these, depending on what you need for your course, you can have some of these, and some of these you can take out. If you notice the ones that are gray, those are not being, well, the students aren't being able to use it, but you can take out the ones that you don't want to use. But we try to keep at least some of the same ones from course to course. But some classes might not need NBC Learn or, you know, access to textbooks. It just kind of depends. So that's somewhere where the courses may differ as well. The benefits of using this shell is it saves time. I'm going to show you, if you go to Getting Started, which is in all of our courses. A lot of the work is done for you. This is something that I transfer in all of the courses. You have the introduction video, which you can shoot that in our studio next door. So we ask everybody to kind of shoot an intro video at the beginning. But the course syllabus, of course, you'll have to edit that and just make sure you upload that. But the purpose and structure, that's something you can edit. But which all of these in this section, you'll just upload as your material. But our proctoring policy, the minimum technology requirements, all of these tools from the proctoring policy down are links to other websites. I make sure that these are updated because sometimes they might change the link or something. So if it's broken, I go in and fix that. So you don't have to worry about, you know, really going in depth to your students about these. They have the Getting Started, and usually that's the first module in the class anyway, which is required usually to go through this. So a lot of their questions that they might ask you should already just be answered by them going through this section. Let's see, I'm gonna go to the syllabus. You can upload your syllabus in a PDF file or Word or whatever you prefer. But if you look down here, when you create assignments in your course, this is called the dynamic syllabus, and this is auto-populated just from creating assignments. You have the dates, the time that it's due. So if you look through here, you can see that it's very well organized. Everything is pretty much from module to module. So the students shouldn't have many questions for you on when assignments are due. Plus, if they're looking at this syllabus as well as the document, the PDF that you probably uploaded to the course, then there shouldn't be many questions about like the material locations or any due dates or any of the resources, because most of everything is going to be under Getting Started. And I'm also going to go into the module section, and you can see that this is organized where you can go to Getting Started from here as well. And you see that we have academic misconduct video, which is all resources that students need to be watching before they even go into the first module for your course. And then if you go down, you can see that we have everything organized by module. We have all the assignments and activities that are due for that particular module. And if I go to the overview, you'll see that they're in here as well, but they're also on that module page, so that they're all kind of in one spot. So maybe they don't want to have to go back and look at the overview page, but they can also access them from here as well. So this is our website. It has information about what we offer. There are tech guides here, video tutorials, resources, but how you request is go under request, and you can request a couple of things here. You can request for a user to be added to the course, and that's usually TAs or other faculty members. If you want me to do a course copy, which means that you want me to get something from a previous semester into your current semester, you can do that there as well. Also, cross-listing. A lot of times, a faculty member may be teaching different sections of a course, and they want to just interact in one shell, but they want all the students in one shell, but they don't want to have to be going back and forth even though it's 2 classes. Then I can cross-list your course so that you just are accessing one shell and all your students are there. And also, if you want a course consultation for any type of instructional design advice, then you can do that there as well. So this is the website. So it's soph.uab.edu/ITG. And I'll just go into the overview page a little more. As you can see, everything is pretty well organized. You want to have your course learning objectives as well as your module learning objectives. SEEF, of course, that's a big thing here. When you have all this information in your course, it just makes it a lot easier when we come to accreditation, and as far as if you want your course to be Quality Matter certified, which is something that we're moving into, and we'll talk about that a little more. And then you're showing your students like that what's expected of them, what they're going to be learning in this particular module. And we also, if you can see, if you look at the module learning objectives, at the end of those, you'll see the CLO1 or the CLO2 or whatever. It's one for this particular module. But we want to show alignment as well between the module learning objectives as well as the course learning objectives and the SEEF competencies, because that's really important as far as SEEF accreditation goes. And we also have the activities here, which are also accessible through the module page. Required readings, any articles. We have a lot of videos in this particular course. Let's see, we have quite a couple. Lecture materials. And then the rest of the assignments are down here below. And then we have a wrap-up. So a lot of our courses are kind of set up this way. It just makes it easier to show the students everything that they're going to be expected to do within a week. It makes it a lot easier to kind of find things. You're not trying to navigate from one place to another. It's just right here.
So there's 2 different ways really that you can organize these. This is something we have set up in this class. So you can see here that we have right here, it says prerequisites, getting started. So you have to actually complete the only thing they have to complete here is the student honor code and the introduction post. Students have to complete that before this module will open for them. And that's part of the way that we try to keep them on track and not just like skipping through. So for these, actually what we predicated it on was the quiz. So they have to at least complete the module quiz before they can move on to the next module. We'll go ahead and look at module 3. To your point specifically, there are 2 ways that you can design your Canvas. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to move. There's 2 ways that you can design your Canvas. One of which is the way that we have it here, where everything is within the overview page. The other way is to have the activities or the videos or the readings in order as separate tabs. This is my personal preference. I was in charge of the overall look. Valerie and I worked on the overall look and feel of this, so that there was even though we had 10 different faculty members contributing, we had a consistent look. My preference is that I have a lot of stuff I give the students, and if I have a tab for each thing, those modules just look enormous, right? And then also sometimes I feel like the students sort of get lost in terms of are they in the order? Have I just put up files? And this is just my personal preference. I just found that I had difficulty keeping track. And so this is the way that I actually organize my courses, and since I was in charge of organizing this one, this is the way that this one happened. I'm happy to show you, and there are lots of other examples of people that do a line or a tab or a link for everything. This is module 3. This is our third module, and this was actually designed by Dr. Austin. And you can see here that this module covers 2 of the SEEF competencies, supports 2 of them. And then there are 5 module objectives, and you can see here how those are tied. The overview allows you to not only give a written introduction, and by the way, if you're doing an in-person class, this is also incredibly helpful so that you have a landing page for however you align your classes at 3 lectures, 4 lectures, or however many class periods. And then as we scroll through the activities, we made everything required reading. We had no optional readings for this. Our opinion is that if you put optional readings, they opt no. So all required readings. But this overview page, if you embed your videos or your content in here, allows us to give introductory text to it. So rather than creating a page, I mean, you can certainly do this if you create a page for everything, but if you simply just post a video, there's not necessarily a content introduction to it by just posting a video. So because this is one of the first courses that students will go through in the School of Public Health, we wanted to provide as much explanation as we could for a lot of things. And you'll also notice that we link the objectives with the content. So this one was just fun. It talks about why statistics are important, why evidence-based research is important. We get a lot of students in the intro epi and biostat classes wondering why they have to count. I'm here to study water. Why do I have to know that? And so we have a video here that sort of speaks to that. And one of the things that we wanted the faculty members here to do was to go out and to cultivate content. We didn't want each faculty member to be responsible for creating the equivalent of 2 weeks worth of material. Plus that, quite frankly, gets boring for students to hear the same voice. We are all content experts in our own area, but it turns out there's other people out there as well that I know, right? And we wanted to find things, and our hope is every 2 years we're going to try to update some of the content so that it's more relevant, it's things that are in the news. And each of our modules follows the same thing. We have external content, we have a lot of TED Talks, we pull from NBC Learn, we have a lot of print media. Then each faculty member created their own content. And this was done in, ta-da, the ITG studio. If you have not been, it's right next door this way. If you are teaching online, this is free. I am currently every Tuesday and Thursday going in for 2 hours and recording my content for my new online course this summer. And so you can just set aside time and they go in and they set you up, and depending upon how fancy you want to be, I've recorded podcasts for my class. In this module, Ella, down here as we proceed, we had the users, or the students, listen to this piece from NPR on e-cigarettes, and then there was actually an expert that came in that Ella spoke with on tobacco control. So we gave them a little context about why this is important, and then we brought in faculty and experts to talk about it. This is just one of the things we're going to highlight for this overview of public health, and this is sort of my favorite part of the class. And in fact, there's a survey that we gave the students that they take at the end of this. This is one of the assignments in every module that they really enjoyed. This is called Get to Know Public Health, and at the end of each module, there's what we're calling the GTK assignment, and it actually takes the content that they have, ties it in directly to faculty here in public health, and then ask them to self-reflect on why they're here and how the module content expanded their view of public health. So a lot of people come in thinking, I'm literally just going to do, one thing. I am here only to study stroke. Well, it turns out that there's all these other contributing factors, and in order to study stroke, you have to be able to count the people who have strokes, right? That's epi and biostat. There are environmental factors, so there's all these other things that the students, especially in their first year, may not really understand this broader connection. So we have a video here from Dr. Cutter who talks about clinical trials, followed up by a lovely TED Talk here from our own Dr. Afuso about BMI and assessment of BMI. And then we asked the students to write about that. One talks specifically about designing, one talks about research for endpoints, where do those overlap, where do they differ, and then elaborate on the module content and how it fits in, and then a wrap up, right? So all of I should point out also, the created content that we created, to double check on this one's not populating, you can see here they say quiz. So all of our created content that we did for this course has video quizzes in it. So at certain points during the video, it will stop and ask a question. This seems silly and pointless. They're multiple choice questions. Sometimes they're true and false. It serves two purposes. One, you can't just press play and go do your laundry, right? Which is a common problem, right? Two, the questions that are asked, while the answers may seem obvious, they're meant to highlight really the critical part or something that we need them to take away. And that's the same thing with each module has a quiz at the end of it. And some of the students will say, these questions were really easy. And I said, well, you got them right. That's great. That means you know it, right? So we aren't trying to really rigorously mathematically challenge you in this module. We want to talk about evidence-based research and to highlight the things that are important. In the public health overview one, there's certain dates and key dates of public health change that are asked about. And so this is basically how every single module here is laid out. And then they go through, and Valerie can help you with the next buttons if you do or do not want them, and it will walk them through the assessments that are required. And we get into writing assignment. This is the third, module 3, there is a writing assignment. And this is the rubric that was provided to the students prior to their doing the assignment. Now, what's important here to note is that this rubric doesn't have, what the students can see right now is what the expectations are for the 75 points. It's not the answers. A lot of people get confused, like, I can't publish a rubric before the assignments due because it'll give all the answers. That's not what we're talking about here. This is what the expectation is that it needs to be well-written, thoughtful analysis, excellent sentence structure, and syntax. This is a pretty simple one. It's a relatively free form assignment. We have another rubric we'll look at that's a little bit more detailed. So for the writing one, this just tells the students what the expectations are in the assignment so that they can't come back to you later and say, oh, well, I didn't know I needed to use, good grammar, right? So you can't use texting or, language or NetSpeak as we call it. And then I'm going to, here's our get to know public health. And then it jumps straight into module 4. How much content do we need to have if we're moving to fully online? And a great place to start is thinking about if I have an hour 15 twice a week, right? So that's 3 hours of what's called contact time. And if you do that over 14 weeks, right, you can do the math basically. But think about some of that contact time, you're not just going to stand up for an hour and 15, right, and talk. You have quizzes, you have discussions, anything that you would do in person, that's considered contact time. But we actually went through and kept track of the amount of video content we had and made sure that we had equivalent hours for, so let's say we were giving 45 minutes a class period of video or of lecture material. That's how much content we wanted to have over the whole course. Some of these modules are much shorter, some are much longer, just dependent upon the topic. But that's your sort of ballpark. When it comes to videos, research has shown, I know some people tend to wave their hands at educational research, but we're all researchers. People do research and education. It has shown that 6 minutes, 10 minutes, you're really starting to lose video attention span. We've got some videos in here that are 20 minutes, and we have a little warning, not a warning, just a statement. This video is a little bit longer. You might want to watch it in 2 settings. That's important because sometimes people are fitting these in on lunch breaks, right? Their kids at the doctor, they're gonna pull up their iPad and watch a video. So if you have an hour 15, that's gonna be a little hard. It's also not necessarily engaging. And so we've broken up what would be a single lecture into, say, 4 video lectures. And then after each one, you can have a little assignment or an assessment, or you can put a worksheet before. So I do this in some of my classes. I have a worksheet for each module that they have to write down answers during the videos to keep them engaged with those. I'm going to hop over to module 8. Before I do that, I'm going to point out one thing. In the Getting Started module, we have a final assignment introduction so that they don't get down to the 8th week and find out that they're going to have to spend several hours doing this final project. We want them thinking about it before they get there. Because the modules won't open until they've completed the prior module, Some people won't get to Module 8 until the last week of class, and then all of a sudden they'd say, oh my God, I have this thing to do. And we outlined for them what they would be doing at the beginning of the semester so that by the time they get to Module 8, we can walk them back through what they've just covered. And this is incredibly important. It's required for Quality Matters certification, that all of your module objectives are tied to your course objectives. But I think it's really important for your students. Sometimes they get to those idea surveys and it's like, they're like, well, I didn't learn anything in this class, which of course is not true. But if you spend a little bit of time and do an overview module, you can, like a summary module, remind them of all the things that they did learn in this course. So it's sort of like taking a trip, right? Before you take a trip, you make plane reservations or you get a rental car, you figure out what you're gonna do, how you're gonna get there, where you're gonna stay. That's basically the getting started module. And then you go on your trip and you do all this stuff. Those are your content modules. And at the end of it, you have all these pictures and you tell people about it, right? That's this summary module, so that the students sort of have that full picture of everything that they really did cover during the course of the semester. We have quizzes in here, and I'm going to show you a couple of the rubrics, and we can talk a little bit more about those. Our final get to know public health, and then here's our final assignment. And we get to what the, if I can get it to populate, here's our quiz. And then here is our get to know public health, and there is actually a rubric that we have for these as well. That just downloaded, and this is the same rubric for each of the assignments. Let me make this a little bit bigger here for you. For each of the get to knows. So you can see for the module 1 and 2, the points 3 through 7, 8, and then it's very clearly stated that here's our late points policy. And then again, this doesn't actually give the answers. These are self-reflection assignments. There isn't actually a correct response for this. But it very clearly outlines for the students, and then also for Mina, who did all of our grading, this makes it really easy for her to say, oh, okay, they were 30, 25, 30, and then it was late, so they get, you know, only 5 points on the submission there. So it's really a very helpful thing to have for the students. They know what the expectations are for them. And these are for the writing assignments where there's slightly different answers that can be made available. And then we have also our final assignment. And once this is turned in, we have an actual rubric. Dale, do you want to talk about? You can. I'll keep going. Okay. I'm on a roll. So we sat down with the final assignment and actually assigned points for the students. And again, this is not the answer, right? So in a statistics, there might be a correct p-value, but all the rubric would say would be correct p-value. It wouldn't actually give the p-value, right? So the student wouldn't get the answer. It would say they get 5 points for the correct t-test value, the correct p-value, and 5 points for a correct interpretation. So we're not talking about giving them the answers, we're talking about the expectations. And this is a different kind of rubric than we just saw, because this one is tied straight into SpeedGrader. Who has seen SpeedGrader? As you are going through the student submission, you can literally just click. And if you think that they get 4 points, then you can put the 4 points in there. And you can also add a comment. So specifically, what did they get wrong? And when you're grading even 20 papers, this is a huge time saver. And so this just makes the grading. And then what's really great is down at the bottom, you have the option to add additional comments. Great work. Try to use the student's name. Try not to cut and paste the same comment for everybody. But there's also audio, which I love to do. Especially if you're doing this on like an iPad or a phone, like if you're grading this on the fly, if you have something that you're grading it on that has a microphone, click. Stanley, you did it. I've never had a student named Stanley, but Stanley, you did a fantastic job on this. I really liked what you did here, here, and here. One of the things that you need to work on would be XYZ. Let me know if you have any questions. And for the online environment, that kind of connection is really fantastic, so that they know that you care. dealing with rubrics is just really, especially if you have stuff that you do really have, which you should before you put an assignment out, standard things that you're looking for. So if you've got formatting things, you can make a rubric for that if you have ways that you want things to look. And if what you want to do is freeform grade the content, then you can add that in to the rubric as well. And then in the final assignment, we wanted to talk a little bit about, let me go back to what it does for them. And this is also so that you all know that your students have, whenever you get them, have come through this course. So if they're first year students now, the students you'll be seeing next year and beyond will come through this course, and all of the things that they will know how to do, right? So they will know how to take quizzes on campus. They will know how to participate in discussions. They will know how to find NBC Learn content. They will know how to use PubMed. These are all skills that we've addressed in this class for them that have assignments. And then I think it's really important to look at this particular two things. A little bit of self-reflection at the end of the course is always very helpful for the students to really sit and think about what it is that they learned. For this particular one, this woman talks about finding her vision, and we asked the students to talk about what they connected with in the materials here. So did the course challenge your assumptions socially or culturally? Did you connect or have a strong reaction to the topics presented? Has the course changed your way of thinking about public health, and has the course impacted your view of public health? 95% of the students that have gone through this course have told us that their knowledge of public health has improved or improved greatly. 50% said improved greatly. And that was really fantastic for us to see, that they didn't understand the connections. The final course assignment actually takes each of the skills that they have learned, finding a piece of educational material, finding evidence-based research, defining a problem, right? Defining the population, what health behaviors, community and personal, are affected, what are environmental factors involved in making this problem worse or that need to change to make it better. And then they propose a study. So it doesn't have to be, a full grant application. It's just, what would I do to look at this problem? How would I attack this? And then, are there any policies that are currently barriers or that would be helpful to solving this problem? So it's really an all-encompassing final assignment to get them to think about all aspects of public health. And that is one of the things that we have enjoyed seeing here. Are some of the responses that we've gotten from the students. There obviously have been some more critical comments, but we're trying to address those. On some of the assignments, we're gonna actually go back and let them know why they're having to give a little bit more information on the assignments and why they're having to do them. This one right here, I think it would behoove every first-year medical student to take a similar course that introduces them to public health. This same student actually said she had gone all the way through medical school. She's in her MSPH, so she's already a physician. She'd gone all the way through medical school without hearing the term social determinants of health. That is now what she's researching. Right? So that's so fantastic that those kinds of things, particularly, and I just speaking from a biostatistician's perspective, we don't get a lot of that. It's the, here's the question, answer it with numbers, write up the answer, and off we go. We don't really get a whole broader context of those. And so I love that our students are having to come here and see that as a biostatistician or an epidemiologist, what they're supporting has much broader context than they think.
When Stacy talked about going next door and doing a recording, a lot of you might think about recording it yourself on your desktop. I used to do that. There is such a degree of professional post-production things that they do next door. The videos that come out after doing it next door in the studio, they are incredibly professional. You end up with a much slicker product, and it's actually less work for you because the ITG group does that for you. The other thing I would say is I have never scripted my lectures. As you can tell, we have not scripted this today. My on-ground class, I still don't. I go in and I know roughly what I'm going to say based on my slides. That's how I used to record my online lectures. I would just talk and record them. One of the things that's important with Quality Matters, and is also with disability support services, is we are supposed to have, for audio impaired learners, you're supposed to have transcripts of all your lectures, preferably with closed captioning on your videos. If you script your lecture first, so if you're making slides, let's say in PowerPoint, and you actually write out what you're going to say. I had never done this before. I started doing it, and it took me a little longer than I initially thought, but it allowed me to really focus and crystallize my thoughts and be very clear on what I was going to say. That immediately gives me a transcript. The people next door can take that, sync it immediately. You've got your closed captioning, and all you do then is go in, you sit in front of the microphone, and you literally just read with emphasis and happiness.
Yeah, it doesn't, so you don't want it to be monotone, right? But if you have it scripted out, so sometimes I go in with certain things bolded, and the beauty of ITG is if you flub, just stop talking for a second.
And they'll fix it.
Go back and start over with what you said, and they magically go fix it. You're saying, well, how can they possibly do this for everybody in the school? So you can't start a class June 1st and go in and record everything at the end of May. My class starts June 1st. I've been recording, like this is I taught the class in person last summer, and I did a lot of the work then, and now I'm going back in April and doing, but I've had a lot more experience at this, so I don't have a lot of starting over. But that's not to say, like, there's certainly videos in my online classes that I still record from home when I want to give the homeworks back. And I, throw the camera on myself, and they can hear my dog bark, so that gives it a little bit of personality. But of course, when you're going through content, you don't want the UPS guy to be knocking on your door. And even at my house, you could still hear traffic noise and things like that. So I mean, I can't stress enough how great Chris and Valerie are with what they do.
If you do script it ahead of time, that immediately allows you to be compliant with DSS, with Quality Matters, all of those other things. And I've got students, I've actually started giving them the transcripts in my on-ground section of the course, because there are students who are like, if they're going to be away for a class or something, there's the content for them right there. And students can go through, they can highlight what's important, they can annotate it, they can edit it even if they want to, and it really facilitates their note-taking.
And you might ask, well, what about the videos that we don't create? So we actually went, in the stuff that we cultivated for external content, we actually tried to find content that did already have transcripts. So PBS is
NBC Learn does.
NBC Learn does. That's built into Canvas. PBS Learn has transcripts for everything.
NPR does.
NPR does. If it's up on YouTube, we actually have instructions for each type. So we have some Vimeo, we have some YouTube, we have TED Talks, and we have instructions in the Getting Started module about how to find the transcripts for all of those things. Last ditch effort, if you turn it on YouTube and you upload a video, it will transcript it for you. It does some funny things sometimes. So our software that's JUMP, that's JMP, comes across as JUMP, but they'll figure that out. But, and also we can help you that. We can help, ITG, and then actually DSS, if you have a registered DSS learner, they'll actually do it all for you. Okay, thank you everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.